this first video on the theme of Paul and empire. In this I will provide a short overview of the position up to about 1980. The two pictures represent the Roman claim to have brought peace to the world and the reality of Roman conquest. Most New Testament theologies discuss the issue of church and state under two headings. First, the conformist view that held that Paul, and for that matter Jesus, taught that Christians should be good citizens, to uphold the law and to serve the state. This was then contrasted with an activist view where Christians should be critical of the state and show solidarity with the poor and oppressed. The first of these views was supported by Paul the conformist. The classic text is Romans 13, 1-4. Let every person be subject to the governing authorities, for there is no authority except from God, and those authorities that exist have been instituted by God. Therefore, whoever resists authority resists what God has appointed, and those who resist will incur judgment. For rulers are not a terror to good conduct, but to bad. Do you wish to have no fear of the authority? Then do what is good, and you will receive its approval, for it is God's servant for your God. For most in the 20th century, and quite a lot in the 21st, Paul's teaching could not be clearer. Positively expressed, be subject to the governing authorities who are there for the benefit of all. And negatively expressed, whoever resists them is resisting God. No wonder German Christians found it difficult to marshal resistance against Hitler's government in the 1930s. He was voted in. On the other hand, others appealed to the book of Revelation, which pictures an all-out war between the kings of the earth and the church. Here are a few verses from Revelation 18. Alas, alas, the great city, clothed in fine linen, in purple and scarlet, adorned with gold, with jewels and with pearls. In you was found the blood of prophets and of the saints, and of all who have been slaughtered on earth. Come out of her, my people, so that you do not take part in her sins, and so that you do not share in her plagues. In Revelation, Rome is portrayed as a beast that seeks to devour the church, and Christians are urged to have nothing to do with it. Indeed, John confronts a prophet who has a different view. In his message to the church in Thyatira, he says, "But I have this against you. You tolerate that woman Jezebel, who calls herself a prophet, and is teaching and beguiling my servants to practice fornication and to eat food sacrificed to idols." Now, of course, Paul would equally be against Christians committing fornication, but he appears to be rather liberal in the matter of food offered to idols. Paul the conformist says, since some have become so accustomed to idols until now, they still think of the food they eat as food offered to an idol, and their conscience, being weak, is defiled. Food will not bring us close to God. We are no worse off if we do not eat, and no better off if we do. It is a matter of indifference to Paul, but life and death for John. I should point out that later in 1 Corinthians 10, he does advise against actually going into pagan temples and eating, but it is apparently fine in private homes. And of course, we all know the conformist Paul when he insists that the church follow the conventions of the day, with statements like, "Wives, be subject to your husbands as you are to the Lord. Children, obey your parents in the Lord, for this is right. Slaves, obey your earthly masters with fear and trembling, in singleness of heart, as you obey Christ." Thus the New Testament certainly offers resources for resisting evil empires, but apparently not from Paul. Now read Wright, pages 1271 to 1284, as he seeks to challenge this so-called conformist Paul, with the view that Paul's absolute commitment to Jesus as Lord inevitably put him on a collision course with Rome and its local governors. Which of his arguments do you find convincing?